I think we'll record locally, and then when I've done a few, we can worry about doing it live. But
All
for
right.
for now, it's going to be locally. Anyway, I suppose we can start.
All right,
David
man.
Ortiz,
Yeah.
dude, thank you very much. It's
No,
actually
thank you,
awesome.
man.
This technically, not quite technically, because we did a test before this, but technically, it's sort of our first time meeting or talking.
Right.
We've talked a good bit via Facebook, via chat, but not properly. So again, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to do this, because all these awesome people online, and it's funny how very few of us actually talk to each other. We develop this sort of relationship or collaboration, but we don't get to talk properly. Like,
Yeah, right.
yeah, how are you
Exactly.
doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm a little bit I felt this way, I know we did that little test, but I'm a little starstruck, man. Like it's you and we're talking.
Likewise.
Yeah, man. I'm like a big fan. I always tell you that, but it's awesome, man. I really appreciate you having me. That's cool.
No problem. I really appreciate it. You know, I'm a fan of yours. I'm also a Patreon on your channel.
Right. It's
Um,
true.
which, by the way, it seems to be quiet these days. It looks like fatherhood is kicking your ass.
Yeah, it's man, fatherhood. It is the greatest and worst thing that's like could ever happen to you. I don't know. You don't have kids, do you?
I don't know. But I
Okay,
have
I don't have
friends. Yeah,
kids. Right.
I have friends with
But
kids. They say the same thing. Yeah.
right. No, it's finally kind of getting into a rhythm where I can start doing more music work, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you released a Cranberries cover recently, actually. Uh,
Right. Yeah, we did that. That was kind of on a whim.
I was gonna
Uh,
say that was out of the blue because obviously it's not something you could plan.
yeah. No. Absolutely. I think I was in the theater when I got an email alert from like my news app, whatever the hell news that I use, and it said that she had died, that Dolores had died, and I was like really kind of it's really really just out of nowhere, and then I got a text from Doomsday, and she said we should cover a Cranberries tune, and I was like, yeah, like let's do that, like that's I don't know, for me that's part their music is part of my growing up,
Really? Yeah.
and yeah, I can't really say that I'm like directly influenced, but by the Cranberries, but I can say that they were a big part of just me listening, casually growing up, and it meant a lot to us to be able to, and then to be able to at least try to do it right. I think that's what we try to do with Mariachi.
You did it credit, and yeah, Doomsday has a great voice. Actually, she really pulls it off because I mean, to sing, it's not an easy
No.
voice to try and replicate, or even just
Right,
a melody to try and replicate. Like she really pulled
right.
it off. It sounded
Yeah, and I think we
fantastic.
were. Well, I'll let her know. I think we were really going for. I think we wanted to do dreams, and we just figured that that vocal part was just impossible. And not to say that Doomsday isn't a good singer, but obviously Dolores is has a whole other style and just a whole other thing, and we there was just no way to be able to do something like that. And then I think we both agreed doing Linger that we weren't gonna try to do the same thing. Just do your own thing because yeah, that voice is just there's nothing like it.
Yeah, well, Linger actually was a good choice. I think out of all the Cranberry songs, it's actually one of the most touching. I find. Yeah, there's something genuinely heartbreaking about that song. So
Yeah, and I kind of thought people would be doing a lot of zombie, and I felt like
yeah,
zombie had become cliche,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
was like, no, let's go this other way, and but it worked out, and I'm glad people enjoyed it. I guess that's the main thing.
Do you? I'm sorry, I'm shifting. Do you remember the first time you heard Zombie
Oh
back then?
goodness.
I do remember it. Like I was like, because there was so much rock and heavy guitars. Like I was used to that, and I was into heavy metal and kind of Monthly Crew and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
But I remember
Right.
the first time I heard those guitars in Zombie, how simple and yet so heavy, and that thing was just visceral. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is that?
Right, 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 man. Oh man, I can't even remember how old I must have been back then, man. Oh, know. That's all a blur. I feel old now. You know.
I know.
You know what? You know what's crazy, Ollie? I didn't even think about it when I told you this Monday. Today's my birthday.
Is it?
It is.
Happy birthday! Oh, sorry about that.
Thank you, man. No. I was like, I was just gonna, and then I got what does it call it? A half day at work.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm just gonna stay at home and do nothing. I'm a dad now, so you know, just chill out.
That's that thing, is it? Stay at home and do
nothing. It's awesome. Every bit of it is amazing.
All right, sorry about that. You get to spend your birthday with a bearded fella just talking about shit and nonsense.
Couldn't have been any better.
I can't follow you. All I have is a glass of water for me because weekdays. I'm trying to be good these days.
It's also not your birthday, so
exactly.
I got one up.
Well, is it tequila?
It is, and I was I actually brought some samples here for you.
Oh my God!
I was gonna give you an education. Let's see what we got here. See, this is my go-to right here.
Wow.
This is what I go to because it's kind of cheap and it doesn't taste absolutely awful. So I don't know if you know how tequila aging works.
No, I know nothing about tequila, so teach me.
All right, check this out. So this is you can see it says reposado, right?
Yeah.
So basically you can equate that to kind of like mid-grade. That's like the aging is somewhere between 3 and 6 months or something like that. And it's similar to, I think, what they do with some whiskey, like they'll age them in barrels, the assorted kinds of wood and char and all manner of things. So they do that with tequila, and reposado would be the middle one, and then the probably the more aged, the more mature tequila is called añejo, and usually it has a little darker color to it, and that's aged 6 months to God knows how long you can age it, right? And those two are like, to me, that's tequila. If you find like a clear tequila, that's pretty much, in my very humble opinion, not even tequila.
Okay.
It's you probably light it on fire for something. I don't know. Maybe disinfect a wound with it or something, but it is not for human consumption. Jose Cuervo uses artificial coloring in their gold variety.
Oh.
So it's really a silver tequila, but it just has like pee in it or something. I don't know. And then finally there's the ultra variety, which I have here. This looks clear.
Yeah.
But it's añejo. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah. I like the bottle.
Yeah, it's cool. This is añejo. It is that more aged variety, but they use some kind of filtration process, and it's so it comes out looking clear, and it is absolutely divine. That one is for special occasions for us. So, as you can see, I'm kind of in the more reposado.
The yellow one. What is tequila made of then? What's the
tequila is made from a plant called the agave plant.
Okay.
It's basically like it's a cactus basically.
Yeah.
And at the center, right at the bottom, there's this big fruit, the agave fruit, and it grows these huge leaves. They look really cool. And the farmers out there, they chop off all the leaves and they're left with this fruit. It's just huge. And they make tequila from that. And it's indigenous, like basically only to like a very specific area in Mexico where this plant grows, So there's your Tequila 101. So if you're in the store, Ollie, and now you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, what I'm looking. I don't think we have a lot of tequila here. I think there's only one or two brand maybe, but not much. We're having connection issues every now and then, but that's okay. I think you can live with it. I know fuck all about tequila. I have to say it's not something I've been exposed to. So, but I like the fact that you have a wee glass before you start.
Yeah.
One of your videos.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to update it because we haven't done a movie. Video since my son was born. But basically, I think the videos now will start with like everybody taking a shot and me probably feeding my son a bottle or something. I don't want to feel like a terribly irresponsible dad,
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, that was a tradition. You made me choke on my own whiskey when we did that cover. I got overzealous. trying to compete with a bunch of mariachi doing tequila before a song.
Yeah, you can't do it. You can't compete with those guys. Man. I can't even.
Clearly not.
I can't. I can't go with those guys.
How hard is it to keep a whole band of musicians? Because you have a big lineup.
Yeah.
And you've had quite a turnover as well in your lineup from the beginning as well.
Yeah, I mean, when we started, I was just kind of asking guys for favors. You know, and I've said this before. The body of musicians that I get to pick from is a very small, very niche group. You're talking about, number one, mariachis that can, number two, read music. Number two, that can play their instrument, you know, well, and ideally that like video games. So this is a very small group of people.
Tell me about it. Try to find traditional Irish musicians that are into video games and know their instruments. And reading music is not a requirement. I can't read music myself, so I'm always I'm in awe when I watch your videos of all the all of you are just like, they look like they're reading on the spot, or I don't know if they've memorized it.
Yeah, and you know, and actually, it's not to say that I think that musicians who can't read cannot be good or great musicians. It's more of a time thing for me. I don't want to waste anybody's time, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what it's more about.
Yeah, no, I understand. It works. It works in that environment as well. I mean, if you can send somebody the files, or if you're able to read on the spot, at least you can rehearse and have an idea of whether the arrangement works or not. No, I get it. It's just I'm always in awe of people who can read music. I don't think it's a strict requirement in general for music.
No, I've met players that were really hindered by it.
Likewise, yeah.
You know, they stick right to the chart. You know, they're sticking right to it, and I'm like, no, you know, it's got to push, it's got to pull. You got to feel something, you know.
Yeah.
You can't. And then like getting musicians out of that is kind of a chore. So there's some convenience to it, but you know, by and large, you know, you and I collaborated. I know that you said you didn't read, and we had absolutely no problems.
Yeah, you sent me a MIDI file. That was cool.
You know, you turned in a great part, and I thought it sounded absolutely wonderful. It's one of my favorite tracks that we've done.
Thanks a lot, man. Yeah, the music is the reading music is an interesting one, especially when you're talking about the traditional musics in general, because there is an intonation that is very specific, and just by reading, it's really hard to get it. I know they say you can, but when you know, and when you have it, you have it. Like, I see a lot of in traditional Irish music or Celtic musics in general. I see a lot of classical musicians that try to transition and having a very, very hard time. I also see a lot of very, very technically proficient jazz musicians trying to transition and having a hard time with the intonation. Reading alone is not enough. You have to be able to learn it by ear and listen. You know.
Right. Yeah, your ears are your best teacher. You know, when it comes to playing music, your ears are going to teach you more than you could ever see from some ink on a page. You know, these things are just a useful guide sometimes.
Yeah.
But realistically, you know, and I have to admit, I don't really know Celtic music well. You know, I haven't really studied it too much, but I do know that I wonder often, like, how do you write that down? You know, like there's just some things that you feel about it that I'm like, oh man, it seems really like if you don't grow up with it, if you don't have the ear for it, like it can be hard to understand, I think.
Yeah, it's something I can pick up very easily by ear, but I've seen people just genuinely struggle. Especially, there's not so much improvisation. Well, there is a bit, but a lot of it is in the how do you do the ornamentation and how you link some of the sections together. That makes a huge difference, and that makes them sound Celtic, you know.
Yeah, I think when those things are just a tiny little bit off, you know, you tend to go like, oh, what is that, you know?
Yeah, you can really tell when somebody is classically trained. But I suppose that's true for any type of traditional music. So how have you been playing then mariachi type of music all your life, or how did you start music?
Speaking of style, you know, no man, I was trained classically.
Yeah.
From like 6th grade, my mom made me be in band, like she forced me into it. And then and then I was classically trained all through high school. When I got to university is when I started dabbling in other styles. But I started with big band jazz, and then eventually salsa music. That's kind of a Cuban, or not kind of, but Cuban music. And then eventually I started playing mariachi because of a guy. He saw me play piano, and he was like, "Why don't you come play harp for my mariachi?" And I was like, all right, So I learned how to speak Spanish from that guy.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I had to learn how to speak Spanish.
Wow.
And I learned all about the culture and everything, and I started learning to play harp a little bit. But trumpet style mariachi is the hardest fucking thing I've ever I feel like I'm still on a journey to really, really get certain details down. It's
how so?
fucking hard. It's like we were just saying. When you have a classical musician kind of playing Celtic styles, right? You notice those little things, right? Where you're just like, see, somebody who was probably more trained or had a better ear for the folk style.
Yeah.
Would have done this or that, or would have had this feel. And so I feel myself constantly like, oh man, it just doesn't feel the way I want it to. And like other musicians tell me too that, I've had people tell me when I speak Spanish from Mexico, they say, "Oh, you're from Mexico." Like when I speak Spanish, they say, "You're from Mexico." And then I play trumpet, and they go, "Oh no, you're from the United States."
The fuck?
Like, thanks, asshole.
It's just the weirdest thing.
Yeah, no. So yeah, it's a fucking journey, man.
You had to learn Spanish. What age were you then when you had?
20.
No shit.
24, 25.
So you and obviously your accent is perfect in Spanish for people to think you're from Mexico.
Well, I'm flattered when they tell me that, because I get some words here and there. They'll go, "Hey, what's that?" But by and large, I can fool most Mexicans.
No
most
shit. Yeah.
of the time.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm Hispanic. In South Texas. So I grew up with some I have an accent when I speak English. I have.
Yeah. You were exposed to the culture, maybe in language and accents in general. Yeah, maybe that's there's some element of that. Then.
Yeah.
That's amazing. In your 20s, though, that's super late to learn the language. It's a very hard thing to do.
But it's possible.
It's possible. Tell me about it. Yeah, no. I moved to Ireland in my 20s. I had some English when I moved, but. Obviously I had to learn English here on the fly and on the spot.
That's crazy.
The French is my first language. It's amazing. I lived in the States for about 8 months back in 2000, and it was very cool because people in America had a hard time understanding that I'm French, not Irish. Because all they heard was the Irish language, the Irish accent, but. So they were like, "Oh my god, so you're bilingual? That's amazing." It's like, the fuck are you talking about? You have tons of bilingual, people whose native language is not English in your country.
Right,
from Asian, from Mexicans, it's just Puerto Rico. It's just you have tons of bilingual people. How on earth do you think that me was amazing? It's funny because bilingualism is a genuine thing in America. It's very, very present. I wonder how much of the population is bilingual.
It's weird, man. Now we're getting into politics because, it just depends what part of the country you're in. It's a huge country. And, you come down here, South Texas, you can bet easy, at least 60, 70%, no, at least 70%, are bilingual.
Yeah.
You go into the flyover states in Nebraska, there'd probably be a lot less. But, generally, and then there's this big political debate about whether we should be English only. And a lot of people get offended when you speak another language, like here in the States. I don't know what it's like over there in Ireland, but here it's a very sensitive subject for people. You can't, I can't just walk anywhere and start speaking Spanish, if it's not San Antonio.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, people get offended, they get really hurt.
But when you say
You
speak
know?
Spanish, do you mean like speak Spanish with a friend of yours,
Yeah,
or expect to
you
go in a
could.
shop and expect the person to speak Spanish? Because that's a very different.
Oh no, 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 no. I'm just talking about like let's say I go with MES,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
and
fucked up.
if I turn to a guy, if I turn to Gilbert and say something in Spanish, there's a good chance that depending on where we are, you're gonna get somebody in line or
Yeah.
behind the register saying, "Hey, stop doing that. This is a free country. We have guns." You know.
Yeah, and yet you have the same type of people who would claim descent from Germany, Denmark, all these kind of
I
white
don't know,
European
man.
countries and Ireland. I mean, there's huge Irish descent. There's more Irish people in Germany of Irish descent sorry, there's more Irish people American people of Irish descent in America than there are Irish people in Ireland.
Right, right.
And yeah, you have people claiming background from all these countries, so and have some knowledge of the local language as well. Especially like when you start looking into Danish and Scandinavian in general and German, like you hear that Italians. I mean, you hear those languages all the time. So why is it that languages like Spanish or
It's weird. Like any language, and yeah, it's weird. Like I heard somebody say, immigrants inevitably become so assimilated within American culture that
yeah
they, at some point in history, will define the culture. Like, who is more American than Tony Soprano? You know. But the thing is, like, Tony Soprano doesn't speak Italian. Like,
yeah
so like, they're very assimilated, and now there's a big, people are afraid that by the year 2030, more than 50% of United States will be of Hispanic or Latino descent. But when they say that, they're talking about individuals that have become so assimilated they no longer speak the language. The
yeah.
food might barely be part of their culture. So I don't know. This is a lot of fear mongering. It's weird.
Yeah, it's a odd situation we live in, and on the other side you have all the the other side that believes that you shouldn't appropriate culture, that is wrong and that kind of stuff. Like, all those two
Yeah.
words are just clashing, and if you find yourself in the middle, you just don't know where to look these days. You're like, I have no idea how to navigate these times right now, because you get abused. You get abused from either side online if you express so much of an opinion, or if you it's not even being on the fence. It's actually just being moderate. It's going, look, assimilation
Oh,
is a
right.
thing. That's how cultures change and evolve, and it's actually a positive thing. But some people don't want it, and the other people don't want that either. It's just crazy.
I find I don't know. I tend to try to be. My thing is like I try to just know more stuff. Like
Yeah,
do the research, just know. So people use that phrase, cultural appropriation, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, and so one of the, especially with Latinos here in the United States, Dia de Muertos. Do you know about this holiday?
The day of the yeah.
Right, you know about this. So this is one of those things where like white people, basically like think it's cool to dress up and to, paint the face and all that stuff, but they don't want the people here, right?
Yeah.
And so they say, it's all being appropriated or whatever. But then, like, I told my dad about that. He was like, well, he's like, that muerto thing, the Dia de Muerto, he's like, that's actually French. Like, there's a lot of like French culture within that,
Yeah.
He's like, so to like say that it's Mexican, like there's a lot of European, so it's all been,
I know it's how you can look back into a culture as far as you want, and you'll find that something has been assimilated from another culture. I mean, Europe has been made like that. It's funny. A lot of these concerns and discussions happen a lot over in America, I find as well, and I wonder why that is, because they're not quite concerns that we'd have in Europe. Now, the concerns here are real, and the right wing and extremists are very, very real here.
uh-huh.
It sounds like a more confusion and just blissful ignorance over in the States of people who don't actually understand how culture
They
propagates
don't.
and
They don't.
evolves.
I call them pseudo intellectuals.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
they want to sound smart, and so they use these catch all phrases, and think that they have an opinion about something, and they really don't know anything about it.
yeah,
It's that we have in our culture. I don't know what's like in yours, but we tend to really denigrate and discourage the educated.
yeah.
You could go somewhere and say, well, I got my degree in this, that, or the other, and they say, what, you think you're better than us? It's like, all right,
I know
all right,
there's tendencies of valuing every opinion equally, and it's not true. It's actually a mistake. You can't do that. Some opinions are actually actually of more value than others. Just because it's yours doesn't mean it's right.
right.
I remember there was you remember that, I don't know if you saw it. It went around. It was like a meme or something like that. But it was two guys looking. There was like a 6, and one guy
Oh
was
yeah,
pointing
yeah.
at it going 6, and the other one was going 9.
Nine.
And then the caption said, truth is a matter of perspective. And I always wanted to
Right,
scream. It's like, no, no, it's not. It just,
right,
this
right,
actually shows a lack of background. So they
right,
assume that one is 6, one the other. What it shows is that we don't know what it is.
right,
We
right.
don't know for sure, so we can't draw a conclusion. It could actually be 164, or it could actually
Right.
be a G, or it could be like, it just, so what it shows is that we actually do not know based on just what's shown in front of us. We need background before we can make our mind. It's just but it went around and shaped so many of my friends just were like, yeah, everything is a matter of perspective and opinion in life. No, it fucking isn't. There are
No.
truths, and they are just assumptions, and this is an assumption.
No, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And my friends were like, "See, it's a perspective," and I was like, "Bull fucking shit. That is either a 6 or a 9, and we don't know enough about that shit to
Exactly,
make
yeah.
any kind of judgment." You know what I mean? Like, one of them motherfuckers is standing on the wrong side. That's all I gotta say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the,
There
the,
was
the, the conclusion is that one or both of them is wrong. Not
right,
both of them
right,
is right.
right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's
That's
crazy time.
hilarious.
I get and the older I get, actually, the more confused I get about a lot of this stuff, because in fairness, it seems to have calmed down, but last year was just crazy. I mean, right and left, it was just crazy, crazy times.
What's it like over there, man? What is a right wing extremist like over there?
So in Ireland, I'm sure we have a few. I mean, if you're talking about right wing, there's still groups of the IRA, the remnants, and that kind of stuff. But it's been a mafia for very long. That's pretty much all it really was, the IRA. So when I say mafia, I mean genuinely like a mafia. Like, we're talking drugs and arms smuggling and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So in Ireland, it's actually pretty quiet and mild in general compared to the rest of Europe. I know France is just being messed up, and the president of France now is he is basically a very PC version of Trump, but he's a very smooth operator who knows what and when to say something, which probably makes him actually more dangerous than Trump would
Right.
be. 'Cause, it's easy to poke fun at Trump. He's just he's himself. The real worry is that people voted for him, really, but he's just a symptom of a darker
Right.
side.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, in France, it's funny. Europe has had a big resurgence of right wing and sort of white supremacy last year. I don't know where things are going right now. It is kind of worrying. Again, in France, the president was elected because his opponent was a right wing conservative of a very openly racist party. So pretty much, most of the population voted for this guy because they didn't want the other guy or the girl to win. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's gonna do the job right, and people are gonna get sick of him as well because he's establishment as well. And I think what's gonna happen is they're gonna vote for that national front at some point. It's gonna happen because people just want a change. Yeah, that's the argument. We just want We just want to change. Try that. See what happens. You know, let's try fascism for a while. See what happens.
Yeah, so that fits.
That weird. I mean, that's
people are weird like that.
Yeah.
I think I heard somebody say that, like, at least, I mean, I guess it happens all over the world, but I heard somebody say, like, Trump was going to win the election, which, he didn't even win the popular vote, but he was going to win the election just based on that kind of, how do you say it, like collective desire to change, right? And that's every political platform that ever gets run. It's just like, the policies of the last 4 years have totally failed. They've always failed. Nothing has ever worked, and we're always just aspiring for change. So that always really, really got me too. I'm just kind of like, nothing. How can this be everyone's platform every year? And it seems to work for some.
I think you have to see the positive, if you can, in that. Maybe that's going to be the kick in the ass that people need to stop fucking about with politics and go, okay, we've had that didn't work, so maybe
right.
But also from the Democrats, I mean, I say what you will, but there was something very shady as well about how the Democrats handled their
absolutely.
Their
absolutely. I totally agree. I was and before I really got into politics, I thought my parents were Democrat, and I a lot of the ideals, things that I agree with, very liberal kind of thing. And then, a few years ago, I was just like, man, these are some crooked ass motherfuckers.
Yeah,
like,
all of them.
This is getting weird, man. I'm like, you were supposed to be my boys. But
wow.
Crooked.
Let's lighten things a bit, because it's so fucking depressing here. But I've always wondered, when you grew up in America, were you a Nintendo gamer? Did you even play video games, or when did you get into it? Or
my mom bought my brother and I NES when we were, oh goodness, I don't know, I was little, and I was from a really, really small town. This is way before internet, so we started playing with Super Mario and Duck Hunt and Mega Man and Metroid. Moved on to Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64. I think PlayStation and PlayStation 2. Yeah, so PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. I had them all. And lately, I can't game nearly as much and I want to.
Yeah.
But it's just.
I can't even game as often as I want, and
I don't know how you do anything. Ollie. Every time I turn around, you're like putting a cabinet together, or you're putting out a cover, you're painting something, and then you're on vacation. I'm just like, what? How the hell is this guy doing, man? Do you sleep?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't have kids, so that's an extra 15 hours a day. Yeah, that's half a joke, by the way. You know that, right?
Well,
we don't have kids, so our free times is ours to do as we please, and we're very similar. Like, we have to be active, It's just I have a hard time just resting or putting my legs up and doing nothing. I was that kid in class that I had to be stimulated somehow, so I'd either doodle while the lesson was going on, or we used to do Dungeons and Dragons in the class. That's how fucking hyperactive we were while taking notes. And I was one of those kids. So I have to do stuff, and I have a hard time just focusing for more than an hour on any task. So I jump from task to task. So
it's all opposite.
It is a mess up there, That's
I'm
really what it is.
I'm the total opposite, man. Like, I could just be like, hey, you want to chill out? And I just stare into space for like a day, I
wish I could do that.
Yeah, I can do that. Like, I'm good with. So.
Yeah, even when I exercise, I exercise quite regularly, like most days. But even when I exercise, like I'll reach the. Are you still with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I got you back. Okay, we probably won't skip that. We'll get the full experience. But even when I exercise most days. Like, and I reach the 35-40 minutes mark. I try to exercise for an hour every day. I reach the 40 minutes mark, and I start thinking about, okay, oh yeah, I need to do this as well when I'm done. Like, and it's just fucking crazy. So I'm trying to rush through
That's
the.
crazy.
Yeah, it's mad.
That's
I don't know if it's a
crazy,
blessing
man.
or a curse, but it's. That's
Well,
the way.
you do it. You know what you do. You do a lot of really great work, man. I mean, like,
You make it work.
uh, you do really cool stuff. I like seeing your artwork online. I like seeing you work on cabinets.
Thanks a
You know,
lot. Yeah.
I love you. I love your covers, man. So it's as long as you're not killing yourself, I guess, then we're good,
No,
right?
it is actually my way to relax as well. When I come from work, like I literally I come from work, I go exercise, and I work on something else. It's just I actually relax and unwind from the previous tasks by doing something else. Some people meditate. That's where I kind of just zone out. I don't know, working in a shed or working on music or editing stuff. Yeah, it's funny how different people are. But what prompted you actually to start the channel?
Oh, very good one. You know, mariachis, like any mariachi you find in the world, you ask them, what do you want to do? 9 out of 10 of them, they're gonna say, you know what, I want to do Thunderstruck with mariachi.
Really?
I want to, yeah. They always have something. They have a million ideas. The problem is that like, I think that the majority of them, because they dedicate their lives to it, are usually not well informed on other styles.
Yeah.
So, when they make mariachi covers of, Thunderstruck or whatever else, there's instead of it being sort of hybridized, it's like all the way to one side, and it might work and it might not. It's a really, really difficult thing to blend, But me, I kind of have the two influences, and I'm not all the way mariachi, and I'm not, kind of classically trained. So, my wife, one day, she said, you bought all this gear. You're not doing anything with it. You better do something. And so I just looked at DuckTales and I was like, that looks easy. It's just there's a violin part. Here's a bass part. Yeah, let's just try that. Just put it on, and I think I uploaded it, and I literally put my head down to sleep. And when I woke up in the morning, I had like 6,000 subscribers. It was weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean. Then we just went from there. I don't know if I would have done it. I don't know if I would have kept doing it if it hadn't been successful.
Of course.
That's kind of sad.
It's a lot of work for something that
It's a lot of work.
for you often get the comment that you should do it because you love it, and trust me, if we didn't love it, we wouldn't do it. Done. Period. But there has to be some something in for us as well, or some reward to it. And when I say reward, I mean people watching it.
Right? Yeah. Absolutely. I totally agree.
Money is another thing, but obviously that's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's if it wasn't successful, especially I don't know what age you are, but like I'm 42. I have a job. I know that my time should be put to stuff that pays the bill. Essentially, that's what it is as well. So,
sure.
Yeah,
I heard you talking to Lord Biff about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do it for the love, but I feel like, for me, man, money is always completely secondary.
Yeah,
like
of course.
When it comes, like I'm really weird about it. Like I don't know if I should say this, but I got a email from a game company to do some music. And it's something I'm like really, really, really excited about. And
was that the same you talked to me about?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
And I just and I straight up, they said, well, let's talk about compensation, and I was like, money? No, I don't want money. Like I want something cool,
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, put us in the game or something, or like put our little logo as an Easter egg. You know what I mean? Like I'm that kind of guy.
Yeah, likewise.
Like, money's nothing. Like that will come and go. Like I have a job, it's gonna be okay. Like, give me something, that you guys could do, conceivably, like that's, not too much work, but that's gonna be badass, and like that sort of thing matters to me. And money is just not.
And did they? So what did they do in the end?
Well, the resolution was that they couldn't guarantee it.
Okay.
But that
it is a big company with multiple people approving a lot of things.
Yeah, sure. So. And that's why so they said they couldn't guarantee it, but that they would, definitely continue to consider the possibility, and then the real agreement would be a monetary exchange.
Yeah, fair enough.
So which is cool.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah,
I was in a similar boat with the Monster Boy game with Game Atelier. Like like it was back in 2014, and they did pay me for using that first cover, and they were like, I said, I'm doing more, so if you want them, you can use them, and it's literally for free. And money was briefly discussed, but then they ended up suggesting, well, maybe we could put you in the game in some fashion and put all your music in the game. I was like, yes, like forget about money, like yes, let's do that. Yeah. So yeah, that's what's adding up. Is going to happen. Like they've sent me a demo already. I have a wee character,
awesome.
Animal character playing the banjo, and you have to unlock all the musics, in the game. Like so. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So all my covers, there's about 7 or 8 covers, and it'll be part of 100%ing the game. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I've talked about it in a few podcasts already, but it's a dream I never had that came true. That kind of way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's super cool. Dream. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm actually redoing some of the first covers that they had already because they're not up to scratch to the standard that they've reached. So I've made I'm redoing some of them. So it's a bit of work, but it's cool. It's cool to be part of it. But they ended up as well to send me. I have a PS4 here. They ended up sending me that as a thank you. So yeah,
that's super cool, man.
That's cool. Yeah.
Shit, man.
Should have asked for it. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, man. If I could do that, man. If I could just
a Switch. Have you a Switch?
Yeah, I do.
I wish I had one. I can't afford one. Well, I could afford one. It's just I get money from Patreon, and the money I get from Patreon is reinvested in instruments. So I can't.
People don't understand that part. People don't understand that. Like, even though, like, we make a little money off YouTube, like a little bit, like hardly anything. You and I probably have similarly sized channels.
Probably.
And people understand, like, we make a little money. It's nothing to write home about. We make, some dough here and there from, I don't know, iTunes, and, it's not much. But, people don't understand, like, how much goes back in.
Yeah.
To, like, what we do.
Yeah.
Like we spend a lot of money just, like, being.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of that stuff, so.
All the money I get is reinvested in instruments. This is the latest one I got here. Actually, no, I got a few percussions, but it's a Zaffoon. It's like a mini clarinet.
Wow, that's a trip.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I can only get one octave out of it, but it'd be cool for to do a kind of like brass sections, to do chords with different sounds. Like, so I'll probably use that for bass. Probably
that's with a reed.
Yeah, it's a reed. It's like a clarinet or saxophone mouthpiece, and it sounds.
That's fucking fun.
Yeah, my levels aren't done for that, so I'm not gonna try. Yeah. I haven't used it in the cover yet, but I will at some point. Yeah, it's a cool little thing. My plan is not to do so much melodies with it, but maybe to do more. Kind of chords background, so I have that as maybe the bass or mids, and then using the flute and maybe another type of reed like the accordion for the eyes, something like that, like to just bring it a bit of texture. That's really what it's about.
How do you organize yourself? Because I've seen you have some covers. You're playing percussion. You're playing some flute. You're playing like some recorder type thing. You're playing banjo, obviously. You're playing leads, harmonies. How do you organize? Like, how do you make an arrangement?
I don't know. I wish I could give you a method, but it's chaotic every time. I kind try. I don't know how you work. I make a first draft. So I make a first messy draft where nothing is in sync, and I kind of focus on what works, the sounds and that kind of stuff. And then when I'm sort of happy with that, I re-record everything afterwards. But yourself, the playing and recording is actually not the biggest part of it. It's coming up with it, and it's editing afterwards, and it's the recording, the learning and recording is pretty fast. When you reach a certain ease with your instrument, you kind of you record fast. So
That's crazy, man.
but
All right, you do it.
yeah,
idea.
it's chaotic every time. I get ideas as well, but I work on 2 or 3 covers at a time as well. So sometimes I have an idea for a cover that doesn't quite work, but I'm like, I think that might work for the other one, you know? So I kind of bounce ideas between 3, 4 covers at a time.
It's a smart way to work.
Yeah.
I wish I did that.
But see, you have you have so many moving parts in your setup. Like you have other musicians, and so you need that rigid structure and organization, because you couldn't have.
Yeah.
You can have 5 people like me. You know, it'll be way too chaotic.
Right. Yeah, I've been, and actually, like, my experience musically, period. Just about in October, I did a show with this guy up in Austin, Hayden Vitera, and it was crazy. He wanted to combine mariachi and metal, and you know, like, those guys, they're metalheads, but like they kind of read too. And our rehearsals were a lot like, I imagine, a lot like the way you arrange. You know, just kind of like you feel something.
Yeah.
You know, like you experiment a little bit, feel it out. Like, okay, this is gonna work. You know, then you record a little bit. You know, it's a little process of carving it out, right?
Yeah.
And their creative process, you know, like I guess like for most musicians, it's like that, but ours isn't. You know, like mine isn't.
Yeah.
Mine is extremely rigid, and so it was really weird to do that. And I kind of feel like a little kid, like, oh shit, like I don't experiment enough, you know. Like I should be trying harder.
Yeah, for me it's mostly experimenting. But you said something very interesting. You said carving it out, which something I've said before. Actually, the what I do on the channel is I compare a lot of that to sculpting. It's really
Yeah.
just, you know, chipping away and then see what, okay, is that where I want to take off a bit or keep a bit here,
yeah.
that kind of stuff. I compared it to carving a sculpture or sculpting. It's very much like that. I find that's my experience of it. But the other thing is, I think when you do stuff like that, you have to enjoy the process more than the end result.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how you work, but for me, it's always about the process. Like the end result is just, it's done. It's of no interest to me now at this stage once it's done and released. But the process itself is where I get the kicks and where I thoroughly enjoy myself.
You know, that's interesting, man. Because like I don't know, like I'm weird. I'm kind of like you. You know, once it's done, kind of like you know,
yeah.
it's just, you know, and because it's not done, right? It's just like that's just where it is right now, and I'm just not gonna do it anymore.
That's what we were saying with Lord Biff the last time. It's like you get to a point where that's the best you can do right now. It doesn't mean you're happy with it. It's just that's it. I can't do better.
and you have to be okay with like, well, I'm just not happy with it. That's just the way my life is. I gotta go wash dishes now. So
yeah,
you know, and but also like the process for me, you know, is very painstaking, and it's. I don't know. You were saying you really enjoyed the process, but like I'm very ambivalent towards it. Like I hate it, and it's like okay at the same time.
Is it more a love and hate relationship then?
Yeah, man. It's
really?
You know, like I start thinking, yeah, like I'll be in the middle of arranging a tune or like editing a tune, and I'll be like, God, one time I raised my hand in 3rd grade. I should have done that. You know, it's getting super fucking weird. You know? It's weird.
Wow.
But it happens.
I love how, you know, out of seemingly a similar outcome, you know, which is music covers, how our processes are so different as well. Like,
so you enjoy the whole thing?
Yeah, I really like. For me, it's so I work in IT and I've done support and I'm a developer. So for me, it's a problem-solving exercise. Like it's all these moving parts. This is the raw material. How do I make something out of it? Like it really is a puzzle, and getting an idea and getting it to work. You know, using a massage fucking thing on my banjo to make weird sounds on the banjo and all that kind of stuff. Like that's the part I really enjoy, because you try stuff. Like when you see a video, I've tried 10 stuff in it already, you know. So,
wow.
Yeah, I enjoy that
that's
part.
That's amazing.
But see,
that's amazing.
I'm on my own doing that, so I can't afford to do that, you know, when you have a whole band.
No, but still, like even then, like the way I see it, like you know, you have this really, it's a sort of matter of fact sort of perspective. It's like, well, yeah, like you said, here are these raw materials, and this is, you know, the goal or whatever. For me, it's when I have the raw materials, it's not just that they're raw materials. Every single part is a reflection of me, you know,
Yeah,
and you know, and so when it, you know, when it's just raw materials, of course it sucks, you know, which means that I suck, right?
yeah.
So then the, you know, the thoughts of where I should have talked to that girl, you know, in sixth grade under the stairs at one time, you know, that's where all this stuff comes from, because I'm just like, fuck, man, like this blows. This is the stupidest sounding. You know, when we did Metroid, and Metroid actually came out okay, but when we did that little Metroid medley, we were in the recording studio, and I had the bass player Adrian there, and I threw down the headphones, and he thought like I was mad at him, you know, and I was just like, and he's like, what, like, what did I do wrong? Like, I just read the part, you know, and I was like, nah, it's like I'm a fucking idiot for even trying this, you know, I should just give up on life, you know, like, I'm like that. It's weird.
Which is weird because you made that Metroid cover your own, like.
Yeah.
Because I hear a lot of, you know, I haven't tried to cover Metroid, and one of the reasons is that it's a very, very, it's a very hard soundtrack to do justice.
Yeah,
and
weird.
I've heard a lot of stuff. It's hard to get away from all the electronic sounds and that kind of stuff. And I've heard a lot of covers, and it sort of blend into each other. But your cover of Metroid was just, I was like, wow, they fucking owned that tune. Yeah, it really did. Yeah, it was quite impressive.
Thanks.
Like, yeah, it was super.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, yeah. I guess you know, originally, I mean, it's intended to sound really otherworldly. You know, which is what makes it difficult, is that these harmonies are just stupid. You know, like you wouldn't use that. You know, like you wouldn't use that in any other situation other than to make an otherworldly soundtrack. You know.
Yeah.
And so you have, it's just these weird, and so I had to take a lot of liberties. There's a lot of implied harmony with, you know, with the Metroid soundtrack, with the original, and I couldn't just take an implication. You know, I have a five string guitars, you know, 6 string, you know, and so I couldn't just have like an implied open chord. You know, I needed to decide, okay, this is going to be major, minor, diminished, or something. Yeah. It's gonna, it has to go somewhere. Like, I can't just leave it up to, you know, the listener or whatever. So that was a big part of the what you would call it, I guess, how it turned out. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, sometimes you do have to make decisions that weren't intended in the sound. Like you said, it was implied, and you have to make them more explicit, and it becomes your interpretation of where the harmony or the melody was going. But I think that's the beauty of doing a cover. It's you have to make the decision and own it at some point, because it's another thing to make a decision and get it wrong, but you know, assume, you know, and own it. Yeah, it was really a cool exercise, and it had. I know you're not keen on people saying that it did have a little Western type of feel, which I think the original soundtrack had, because it's a Western in space, you know, that sound. Which
no, you know, I appreciate those things. I don't know how you feel, but you know, when people tell me those things that are really surprising, like, oh, this really feels like a Western, my position on it is like, like I didn't really think about that.
Yeah.
But you know, once again, that's a reflection of me and the decisions I made, and you know, I'm not here to tell you how to feel about it. You know, I can only tell you how I feel. And
well, I think it's because the idea of the music from the traditional Western film was that the place was otherworldly, and these were just so, you know, the last frontier fucking events and that kind of stuff. So the music wasn't actually akin to anything else that was around.
Right.
And obviously there's some element of the instruments used. I mean, I can't get away from the banjo, mandolin, yee-haw, you know, bluegrass stuff that people assume I am. Like, it's just like the amount of yee-haw and stuff I get on my comments is like
that's a shame.
Yeah, every time I want to go scream fuck you, but it's like, look at, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you appreciate it. How annoying is a comment that just says, do this thing next?
Oh, man, no one's ever asked me that.
Really?
Yeah, no one's ever asked me that.
Every
It's
cover,
annoying as
yeah.
fuck, man. Every single fucking time, man. Like, Mitch, you're not the one writing this shit. Like, do you know how hard this is? Like,
Yeah.
you
Every
know, like
time I
this.
want to go, like, can you at least, please just take 2 seconds to say wow or well done or I like that,
Right, yeah,
and then or
yeah.
instead of requesting that I put aside 2 weeks of my life to do that game for you, it's and they mean well, like I can get mad, but it's just
Yeah,
every time I'm
absolutely.
like,
They mean well. Fuck!
yeah.
Sort of flip
But
the table, yeah.
I have to kind of take a breath because it's but I have to take a breath and just go look at somebody took the time to comment that what is not said is that they like your stuff enough to request that you do
Right.
something they love,
Right.
which is the way to read it. But every time you go, oh, can you, like, I've spent 3 weeks on that, like, can you at least appreciate it first for 5 seconds and then maybe think
Right.
about
And then to think like they might not even have gotten through. You know what I mean? They listen to 20 seconds.
oh yeah, well,
And then like hey, do this, and you're right, like they do enjoy the work. I mean, they wouldn't ask otherwise, they wouldn't ask if they thought this is trash or whatever. But yeah, it is.
You hinted at something there. Which is a good point. Is they listen to 20 seconds like it. That's one thing I struggle with is how long to push the arrangement, how long to make the tune last, because obviously YouTube is trying to push longer videos, but we can't really make an arrangement of 6 minutes. Like people will not watch it. We'll be lucky if they watch a minute and a half. Really.
Right.
So, how much do you push an arrangement, or do you even think about that?
You're asking a deep question here because there's a lot of facets to this question, and that is like you were saying, YouTube is pushing things in one direction, right? And then we as artists, we have our ideas, and there's this big intersection of YouTube's interest, our interests, the audience. There's all these things. So, for me, I try really, really, really hard not to let any of those things influence me, like at all. Like if it's gonna be a minute-long video, then I'm just gonna make a minute video. It's gonna, but I'm not trying to stretch anything.
Yeah.
I don't believe in doing anything that is not absolutely organic. Like if it doesn't work, I've trashed whole arrangements when they were done. Just because I didn't feel like they were, and if we would have put it up, and some people might have liked it, and I would have gotten views and comments and all that manner of thing, but it didn't feel right to me, and that ultimately is what drives me.
Yeah.
Is that like I make this, I kind of make it for me, but I try not to let people, other things influence me like that. And that I think that goes into the whole like YouTube's partnership thing. You were talking about that with Lord Biff.
Yeah.
That starts to become an influence, and but I don't know. I'm not. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're absolutely right, actually, by saying you let the thing just be as organic as possible, which is the way I feel as well. Sometimes I just play the tune twice, or because that's all it needs, really. I've done everything I wanted with it, and sometimes it's like it needs a fourth time because that's when the arrangement as a whole resolves itself. It's just so. Yeah, I never think too much about it, but I am aware of the fact that 130, 140 minutes is as much as people watch, which is a problem because then you have your end cards at the end where you're trying to redirect some of your traffic to social medias or Patreon or or Bandcamp or all these places. So
I didn't see that.
Yeah, people. Yeah, exactly. People don't get to it. But if you make something too short, a lot of people will notice and will say, "This is too short." And have we lost you there? Oh yeah.
No, we're good.
So yeah, it's a tough one to navigate, but I try not to think about it at all. Like I've said it before as well. Like I don't really think about views or what will be popular. Like if I worried about a cover being popular and viewed, I would not cover stuff from the Sega Master System or the Amiga or some of the PC stuff I've done, like that nobody fucking watches.
Right.
Yeah. I do stuff because I want it. But I think you and I are in a lucky situation as well. We have a day job that pays the bills, so we don't rely on YouTube for sustenance.
For income.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's. I think that's a part of me, like because you and I have had conversations like on Spotify and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think for me, I have a hard time understanding. By all accounts, you and I kind of have small channels. I mean, they're not small
Yeah.
by, say the average YouTuber who's really trying, but they're pretty small.
Yeah.
And so I see what kind of income I have from it, and I'm just kind of like, well, that's just not a thing for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm just not going to go that route. And I don't really understand the YouTubers that are maybe in the, say, 500,000 subscribers, where that balance is a little bit more delicate.
Yeah.
But then I kind of feel like, well, if you're up there, I don't know, is it really affecting you that much? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're a musician and you have 500 or more, or even 100,000 subscribers, obviously, yeah, you sort of have found your niche of people who want to listen to what you're doing. So whether you're doing it just to get views or because it's stuff that you wanted to do and you found that audience is maybe a different discussion. But yeah, I think once you reach that, you probably don't need to worry as much either. But I think when you get there is probably where you might make the mistake of worrying and trying to please your audience. I think I remember Insane in the Rain Music mentioned that, like he said, he sort of burnt out because he was doing stuff he wasn't actually enjoying, or wanted to do to start with. And he had made the decision once he'd reached like about 100,000 subscribers just to do stuff he wanted to do, like.
Right.
Which I found interesting. Like, there's been a few YouTubers who've talked about sort of.
Yeah, I don't want to get like that, man.
Selling it. Yeah, I that's one of the reason I do what I want, because I mean, I've been doing it 3 years. I don't feel burnt out in any way. Like, I'm as excited about a cover as I was when I started, and like every new cover I reset. It's day one again. Like, it's with the will people like it as much as I did? I still get that feeling. So yeah. But I think we're lucky because we're not. I don't know about you. I'm not trying to be popular. I'm not trying to make a career into music. Like, I've done music for 30 years already. I've done that part. I've played on stage. I've done that part of my life. So now this is my retirement plan.
So now then I got this question for you. Do you think, like, you say you reset every time, you kind of feel like it's new every time?
Yeah.
But your skill is valuable. Your skill set is valuable, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the time that you not only put into the work itself, but the time that you have put in, developing your skills. Just you as a banjo player, like I've seen some of your first videos, compared to what you do now, and there's this huge difference, So, I think, like, do you ever feel like holding fans accountable for, like, wanting to be supportive? It's like I had a guy on my YouTube channel comment one time. He's like, "Man, I love this band, but all this guy is doing, he's just talking half the video, because I have the end card at the end where I'm talking.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not here for that, And I'm like, well, then buy the CD.
Buy.
Like, simple,
Yeah.
So do you ever feel like that? Like, hey, like, I don't care, for money, but like, do you ever feel like accountable, like, when they want to be supportive?
So, what do you mean? Like, somebody who wants to buy, or
yeah, like,
or be a Patreon, or
See, this is where it goes. It's like they say, they want to be your fan.
Yeah.
Right? They want to listen to your music. But they want to do it like on a like that guy, like I was saying. He wants the baby. He doesn't want the labor pains. He just wants the music, and he definitely doesn't want to pay for it.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, goodbye.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like there's a lot of people like that. I mean, not the majority of them, but
my attitude. My attitude for that is, this is not a match. It's not working. I've had that because I started having that intro with the skull and the banjo, and I don't know if you watched the last few videos, but I have that intro with the skull coming in the banjo, and it makes a sound, bam, 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 bam. And then I have an ending card with a little sound in it as well. And I've had a few comments from people who are annoyed because it messes up their playlist and they have to listen to that thing, and I'm like, well, yeah, but then buy the stuff on Bandcamp or iTunes, or if you want just the music. Like, this is my channel and it's happening on my terms. I appreciate that you want to listen to the music uninterrupted, but there's a channel for that, or there's a medium for that, which is, Bandcamp, which, by the way, you can stream on. You can actually just listen to the whole thing and press play and listen to the whole thing uninterrupted, or you can, I'm sure you have a Spotify account and you can stream it on that. So it's like there's another channel for that where you actually actively support me. If you're just here to consume stuff for free and you literally just consume it like you'd eat the junk food, this is not what I do. This is it's so I try not to play to the gallery, really. I just because otherwise it's not your channel anymore. It's everybody else's, and that's not the exercise, I think. I try to be polite. I want to be polite, and I want to accommodate as many people as possible. But I need to look after my channel and my interest and do things how I want to do them.
You ever play live?
The covers.
Yeah.
No. I used to play a lot of live music in pubs and concerts and gigs of traditional music. I've done that all my life at this stage, and I've talked about it as well on a previous podcast. But I reached a point where I actually went full time, just doing non-stop music, traditional music in Dublin, and I was surviving, but I was just miserable because I had to pay the bills from music, and I was surviving, but it wasn't enjoyable, and I was just playing out of habit and routine, and so I did it for about 8 months. I got back into a corporate job doing development, which I enjoy as well, but because it ruined it for me, and I've stopped playing live since. I haven't done live gigs since. I've been offered. It just I've said no. The only one time I would have done it is actually when you texted me last year. It was funny because I was on holidays in Fuerteventura was it Fuerteventura? Or one of those Canary Islands off Spanish island off Morocco, and I was there, and I get this text message from Mr. David Ortiz saying, "Oh, we'd love to fly you over if you could play with us on stage." Like, what the fuck? And I couldn't actually I wouldn't have been able to get the days off, at that short notice. That was the thing. That would have been exciting. Actually,
damn shame, man.
That would have been the first time I played live in probably 8 years. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I stopped all that. It was just
that would have been so great.
And I ended up just being stressed over it as well. I was just getting stressed over. It's just even little details that I shouldn't get stressed over, but just things out of place and all that. And I was just getting worked up about things where I wasn't enjoying playing anymore, which is great now because I get to do stuff.
It's frustrating.
What's that?
No, yeah, that shit is frustrating, man.
Yeah.
like organizing and it's a lot.
I'd say you get your share of.
Yeah, we were kicking around. We wanted they give us a travel budget, and we're kicking around like, who could we get over here? And you were the first guy that we thought of. We were just like, man, we need to get this guy. We were ready to have you.
Thank you, man.
Fuck it, we'll play one song with this guy, but it'll be badass.
We were actually just going out to dinner, and I spent the whole evening going, I can't fucking believe I said no. I can't believe I said no. Fuck me. Yeah, it was, but yeah, I couldn't
That's
have.
awesome.
But have you had crazy stuff happen to you on stage with the band?
Nah, I don't know. I've been playing so many years. I feel like I've seen it all.
Yeah.
I had a drum cymbal fall on me one time. I don't know. what crazy would be that shit. And I caught it. I caught that shit. I was playing a lick with one hand, and I caught that shit like that, and I kept playing the fucking lick.
Nice.
And yeah, and the drummer didn't even give a shit. He just kept boom. He was going to town.
As drummers.
Yeah. So I don't know. No, man. I don't have. You know what? I'll tell you what. So here's the thing. I'm spoiled as shit with playing with mariachi. Mariachi, like you could be halfway decent, and you could clear like 50 grand a year playing mariachi. Like you could do it. Yeah, here in San Antonio. Oh yeah, I know some guys that do. It's a lot of work. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but like you can do it.
Oh.
And so I used to live just playing mariachi, like right out of college.
Wow.
And those were some crazy stories. They always involved a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
And but probably probably not good for my online persona.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, playing a traditional Irish music when you're in Dublin, when in your 20s, where plus when you have a job as well. But so all the extra money you're getting goes into drinks, among other things. Yeah, it's just people don't realize how like traditional local scenes are incredibly hardcore and somewhat incestuous.
I heard that the Irish. I had a buddy of mine go to Ireland, and I mean this guy was a mariachi, so this guy could put him away. Like he could drink, and he said that he went in the morning to a pub, started drinking with some guys, and then they went and did some touring things, but they were drinking the whole day. They got back to the same pub at night. They were just smashed, and the two guys were still there, and like they were cool. They were just like and so they got the idea that Irish people just like can drink like motherfuckers, like really, really put them away.
I don't know. I don't. Well, yeah. But I've done all-nighters in pubs. Like we have what's called what is it called? Not a lock-up, but we're essentially we used to have. I haven't been out in a while now, but I've done gigs or sessions where comes closing time, the pub closes, but you're still inside, and it's not opening until it's opening time. But it's just all the people inside that keep serving, and just the doors aren't opening. So it's I don't know. It's 12 o'clock at night. They close, or 1 o'clock. They close until 8 again in the morning, and you stay there and do whatever you need to survive. So yeah, I've had all-nighters in pubs. You just keep playing and drinking. Yeah, it's just these were great times.
That's fucking badass.
Yeah, in your 20s, it's really cool. Like, I've done tons of festivals, and it's a great scene.
Yeah, no, not 30s when you're a dad.
Yeah, my friend, I don't know how much you have, but I think we've been chatting for an hour and 10 minutes already. That's,
are you serious?
Yeah, probably more than that. I'm surprised we haven't been interrupted by the cat.
Me too. That's amazing. You know what? Now I'm starting to fear for the cat's life.
I'm used to that cat being on almost every video at this age.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's weird.
But
where is the cat? I don't know.
So, have you anything to say to people if they want to find you? Mariachi Entertainment System on YouTube and social media.
Facebook. Yeah, all the social medias.
Yeah. You have a Patreon as well.
I have a Patreon.
Yeah. Single. I'm going to say this every time I have a platform, but it's just single most better way to support any artist is Patreon.
It really is. Hey, what did you think about that thing? What was his name? Nick. What was that guy's name? They changed the fees and all that shit. You remember that? And then
they they were going to charge end user or people who support on Patreon. They were going to charge them extra. So essentially, all the fees are on us, and they were going to charge instead of that. They were going to charge on people who support you.
Did you lose a lot of people?
I think I just lost two. A lot of them actually went to a different platform, which is TP, which is a French platform. And because they were French, they actually just moved over there as well. It was easier. So I'm on both. So I'm on 2 platforms, but I think overall I just lost 2. We haven't come back. It was loss of goodwill, like from Patreon. It was just it was a crazy thing to do. I don't know, like it just I can't believe they thought about it and thought it was a good idea, because most of the people on supporting are those $1 supporters. So now when you charge, and they support multiple artists. So if you support 10, you get that extra fee, which, you know, it all amounts to a few extra dollars you weren't planning on spending, and it does matter. It does matter.
It really does.
Even if you can afford it matters out of just pure goodwill, and so there's been a loss of goodwill for Patreon. People just don't want to have anything to do with it, which is an awful shame. They've reverted all that. They've actually changed all that, which is good.
Yeah. Right before it actually started to go into effect, I think they put out a statement saying, like, okay, now, you know, obviously the backlash. But it was weird. I thought it was really weird the way
it took them a week, though.
Yeah, it took them a week, and then it made no sense that they said we're an artist first, platform, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, if you're thinking of the artist first, like, why did it take you a week to hear all the artists saying, like, this is a terrible idea? Like, we care about our contributors.
Yeah, and every artist was like, look, I have no problem taking the fee. Like, I'd rather have more Patreons and a little bit less money than than scaring people away from the platform.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Patreon fans are the best, man. They just there's this really small group of people that really, really care. They're really, really interested in seeing you succeed. They're just they're fans in every sense of the word. It's amazing, and to do something like that to people who, like you said, who are potentially pledging to 10, 15 different causes. That was just terrible. But glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, anybody who like, I'm a Patreon of a few artists as well, but I think, like, to me, when somebody just says, yeah, I want to give you a wee bit of money to do what you do, like, it's just testament to, well, first, that you're doing the right thing, but also how much they appreciate what you're doing. Like, it's beside the monetary aspect, it's actually just it's awesome. Like, it's literally awe-inspiring to see that people want to help do what you do.
Absolutely.
So check out Mariachi Entertainment Systems YouTube, Patreon page, Bandcamp. You're everywhere, aren't you?
No, I'm not on Bandcamp.
Are you not on Bandcamp? Okay.
I don't know how that works.
You just upload your shit and put a price on it.
But don't you have to take care of your own? Don't you have to take care of your own licensing and shit like that?
Nope.
All right. Well, then we're good.
No, they don't do any of that, which is going to be a problem for them at some point, I assume.
That's what I'm saying. You got to do it by yourself.
I see what you mean. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be in trouble at some point then.
That's what I'm saying. See? No, fuck that. See, I'm saying off.
Yeah, I'm on Sounddrop. No, is it Sounddrop? Yeah, I'm on Sounddrop. As well. And actually, I'm one of the featured artists, which is really. But yeah.
What's up?
Yeah, what up? But yeah, and they do all the licensing, but yet they charge for it. It's a tenner. It's $10 per or $9.99 per song to be on Sounddrop. So it takes a while to.
Oh, really?
To get your money back, from that. It's like 2 months for me at the moment. I get, if I put an album on Sounddrop, it's 2 months before I get the money back from that, which is all right. I don't put albums out every month, but you got to spend money to make money, I suppose.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, man.
But look, dude, I really appreciate you spending the time. It was awesome, actually, to chat.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Almost for real. I wish we could meet in person, but that's
and you know what?
Second best thing.
I'm telling you, we're gonna try to work it out and get you down to PAX next year. Just gotta know a little bit in advance, dude. That would be badass. And then you can see how shitty, America. Well, you've been over here. Right?
I've been over. Is it 7 or 8 times? I lived in America for about 8 months.
Really?
Yeah, I lived in LA.
Is it expensive for you to fly over here?
Yeah, it's it's €1,000 flight.
That's a lot.
You know, you save for it. You don't. Obviously, I don't have that disposable income every month, so
Right,
yeah, you save
right.
for it.
We're gonna make it happen one of these days, man. It's gonna be badass. It's gonna be
Dude,
badass.
that was awesome. Thank you for the chat, my friend. I really
No,
appreciate
thank
it.
you, man. Thank you for having me, man. It was
Yeah, we'll
great.
do
I had a
this
good
again
time.
if you're happy with it.
Hell yeah, man.
All right, folks. Mariachi Entertainment System, David Ortiz. Thank you very much. See ya.
Thank you, brother. Peace. Fuck.